afternoon everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Adam's Eats. Now I've got to say, I've been somewhat obsessed with chicken over these past couple of weeks. Well, more accurately, roast chicken. It's a family favourite, you know, you get that nice crispy skin, that juicy meat, with your roast spuds, your gravy, your veg and all that kind of stuff. You know, it's a family favourite. But I'm kind of thinking to myself, how can I make it better? Can you make it better? And I've been obsessing over this for the past couple of weeks thinking, how can I make the humble roast chicken better? So I thought, you know what, I can turn this into a series. And that's why I'm starting the roast chicken experiment. This is episode number 1, and I warn you, it's bonkers. Absolutely bonkers. Because the idea of the series is to think outside the box a bit, you know, throw some crazy ideas at it, see what comes out, and if it's good, brilliant. If it's not so good, we can make improvements. Now, I want your guys' input as well. So after this video, if you've got any tweaks or suggestions, things we should change for the next one, or you've got any other ideas, then leave those in the comments below. But essentially what we're going to do today, or try to do today, is I'm going to poach an entire chicken in butter. Yes, butter. And then we're going to finish it off in the oven so we get a nice crispy skin. Now the thought behind this is that butter is not only going to keep it juicy, but it's going to permeate right into the flesh, hopefully. So my thinking is at the end, we'll end up with a nice, juicy, buttery flavoured chicken, and we should have nice crispy skin as well. That's the plan. It might work, it might fail. Now before I can do any of this, we need to go down the shops and get some chicken and a shed load of butter. See you in a minute. Now that is an obscene amount of butter. Okay, I hope I've got enough. I've kind of calculated that I need about 2 litres of liquid. My maths isn't great, but obviously these are 250 gram blocks. Convert that into mils, that should end up with 2 litres. So I've got my 8 blocks here. So we're going to need to melt that in a second. Then we've got the chicken. It's just a small free-range chicken from Aldi, because actually for the price of their free-range chicken, it's not too bad. I mean, that was £5.06 for 1.5 kilo, that's not bad. So that's our chicken, and I've got some rosemary, got some garlic, I'm going to put some peppercorns in there, some bay leaves, and we're going to see what happens. Now I'm excited about this, but I'm also a bit nervous because if you live in the UK, you know exactly how much that butter cost, and it was a lot. So I'm a bit anxious that that's all going to go to waste. Now the first thing I'm going to do is to get this butter into a large pot and melt it. Now what I'm going to do is I think I'm not going to just put it in whole. I think I'm going to cut it into smallish chunks, because then I'm thinking it will melt evenly. So I'm just going to cut it up. Now I'm using unsalted butter because I'm thinking before I put it in the oven to finish off, I'm going to add salt to the skin to help crisp it up. And I don't want salt in the butter whilst it's poaching because it might make it too salty. So I'm going to carry on adding this butter to the pot, and I'll see you guys in a bit. Right, so I've cubed up the butter, it's in the pan. Now before we start to melt the butter, the next thing we need to add is the herbs and garlic. Right, okay, so the first thing I'm going to add is the rosemary. I'm not quite sure, I'm probably going to go for like 2 sprigs. I think that should be enough. I'm just going to bash it with the end of my knife, just to kind of release some of those oils. Stick that in there. Next I'm going to add some garlic. I'm not going to peel them, but I'm just going to take out some cloves. Let's go for 6. And I'm not going to peel them, I'm just going to take the side of the knife and just squash each clove. Again, I'll add those to the pot. Next, I've got some bay leaves. I'm going to use 4 sort of fairly large ones. I'm just going to squish them up, and that's going to release the oils. We'll get those in. And I'm also going to add some peppercorns, just a small handful there. And I think that'll do for now. I'm going to keep the flavours fairly simple. So now what I need to do is to get this butter melted. Right, so I put the pot onto a lowish heat, and I think I'm going to keep it moving because the last thing I want is for it to catch on the bottom and to burn. So I'm going to carry on with this, stir it nice and gently, get it all melted, and then we'll get the chicken in. Right, okay, so I've melted the butter. You can see it's reduced in volume quite a lot. We should have about 2 litres of liquid there. So all that's left to do now is to get the chicken in. Now what I've done is I've put the pestle part of my pestle and mortar in there just to kind of help weigh it down. And I've done nothing to it, just as is. And I'm just going to plop that in there. Now it's not quite covering the breast, but what I'll probably do is just kind of turn it around and rotate it as it cooks. And then I'm just going to put the lid on. Now I'm thinking I'm going to leave this for about an hour and a half. Nice and gently. I just want a few bubbles on the surface, because I've also got to remember that this is a fat, so if I have it too high it's going to deep fry rather than poach. And I'll probably rotate the chicken about every 20 minutes or so, just so all the butter can get inside and around the chicken. And that's it really, there's nothing left to do but wait, so I'll see you guys in a bit. Right, so this chicken has been poaching now for exactly 1.5 hours. It smells incredible. So what we need to do now is to get it out of here into this roasting tray, and then we need to finish it off in the oven. Right, 1, 2, 3, oh God. Right, okay, let's have a little look at this thing before we put it in the oven. It seems we've got a bit of damage. You can see here it's obviously got a bit of a scorch mark, and I think that was from when I turned it over and the breast sort of caught on the bottom of the pan. And you can also see the skin has split and come off the breast, you know, some of the legs as well. So, you know, not to worry, it is an experiment after all, but we need to address those issues the next time round. I think I may have slightly overcooked it as well, so I think next time it needs less poaching. So what I'm going to do now is to roast this off, get some colour on it. I'm going to keep basting it with some of that butter as well. So I'm going to bang this in the oven and get it roasted. Right, so the chicken has been roasting now for about 20 minutes. I think it's done. I've basted it every 5 minutes or so. So now we need to get it out of the oven, let it rest for about 10 minutes before we give it a taste. Right, okay, so here's my car crash of a chicken. All right, I know appearance-wise, it looks an absolute mess, but it's the taste that really matters at this stage, because remember, this is an experiment. So now we need to cut into it and see what it's like. I'm just gonna take off the string, okay, and I'm just gonna take off this leg. Okay, the legs are very tender. And I'm going to take off a nice chunk of this breast. Probably a little bit overcooked for my liking. Next time I'd probably reduce the poaching time a bit. All that's left to do now is to see how it tastes. Let's cut a nice piece. Let's go for a bit of breast first. It is a little bit overcooked, but it's not completely dry. I'm not getting much of that butter flavour, but it is there. So I'll put the breast to one side, and I'm going to try some of this leg meat. Let's just see if that makes any difference. Again, the flavour's there, but not as prominent as I wanted. Although the meat's juicier. I mean, it's delicious, just not quite what I was expecting. Well, I don't know if this is a failure or not. I can't make up my mind, because the amount of money that I spent on butter doesn't justify the end product that we've got. It's tasty, but it's not what I wanted. But I'm not giving up on the butter idea yet, so I need to think on it. And also, if you guys got any suggestions, leave those in the comments as well. So what have I learned from the experiment so far? We need to reduce the poaching time. We need to sort out some way of stopping the skin ripping before we roast it. We need to find out a way of getting the butter further into the chicken to give it that juicy buttery flavour. The biggest thing here is the expense. I mean, do you really want to spend 10 quid on butter when the chicken is a £5? No, it doesn't make any sense. But I knew that from the beginning. I knew it was going to be expensive, but we needed a place to start. So I'm going to go away, have a think about it, read your suggestions, and we'll see what we come up with in episode 2. Well, that wraps up today's video. Thanks again for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Something a bit different, and also it gets you guys involved as well, because I really want to hear your suggestions, your thoughts, and hopefully by the end of this series we'll have the perfect roast chicken. Now, of course, if you liked what you see, then please stick a like down below, leave a comment and share across your social media platforms. And also, if you stick around at the end, there'll be some links to some other videos, and if you'd like to subscribe, there'll be a button for that as well. And as always, I'll see your lovely faces next time for more tasty fun and frolics, and bye for now.